Hello, I'm Sierra Bogan.
I'm Emerald Eames.
Haley Billings.
Tommy Harris.
And this is the video. Okay, so the first question would be, would President Obama fit more into a charismatic authority than Donald Trump? Why or why not?
I would say he wouldn't, simply because I feel like they're both animated presidents. They were, what Barack Obama was, but I feel like Donald Trump, he would say just random things sometimes and it didn't matter because of how he said it. And he had enough people behind him that it still got him into office. So he had enough believers regardless of some of the ludicrous things he would say that get him into office.
Okay.
I would say no because they both have people who absolutely love and adore them, and they both have people who absolutely hate them. So,
I don't know. When you think about a charismatic authority, people who follow them religiously, I think, are like cult leaders and like Jesus, and neither one of them are like either one of them. So, I can see Obama being more charismatic from the fact that he had good charisma, but to fit in the actual block of what it means to be a charismatic authority, I don't think either of them are.
And I would agree too because President Obama and Donald Trump both, they're not religious at all. I can't look up to them as a religious figure. So, like she said, charismatic authority is basically dealing with cults and things you believed in. So, yeah, neither one of them are a religion. So,
that's good.
You
add in.
I was gonna say, okay, sorry. It says for the 2016 presidential election, so should we be talking about Obama? Do you see what I'm saying?
He had a lot to do though in the presidential election.
I'm just saying I don't want her to think that we're going off track.
Right.
Because everybody's mentioned both. But I guess if we all tie it into everything, then it shouldn't matter.
I mean, we're talking about Trump, who has to do with the election, and Obama
Just
did have
compare
a
the
lot
two.
of influence in the election with
Okay.
different things.
Then yeah. Okay. Next question.
Okay. Do you feel people decided who they are going to elect into office by using charismatic authority, or do you feel they actually look at their policies and what they want to do for the United States and why? Great question.
Well.
Okay. I'm gonna say it again. Do you feel people decided who they were going to elect into office by using charismatic authority? That's the first part of the question. Or do you feel they actually look at their policies and what they want to do for the United States and why?
I think it's a mixture of both. You have to believe the person, like you have to have hope and faith in them. But you have to agree with their policies as well. I don't think you would vote somebody in the office and you don't agree with anything that they stand for.
I think they go more towards charismatic because I feel like people get an image of people and they just go by it and they don't really listen to what they say or anything. And so that once they love them, and that's just what they decide on. They don't really care if they stand with them or not on their policies.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, when I think of, I don't know, charismatic, I feel like we're using this the wrong way. Me too. I know, we'll keep doing this. It's okay, she can watch. I think they look at the person, and if they like the person, they're going to like the person regardless. But liking somebody regardless, you also have to agree with what they want to do. So if you don't agree with what they want to do, then I don't think you're going to like them. But you might be more apt to not look at what they do that you disagree with if you like them. Like if you're a Democrat and you liked Obama, then he might do things that you're not going to agree with, but if you're a Democrat, you're going to stand with Obama regardless.
Right.
Same with Donald Trump. You can be
You're
a
not gonna vote
Republican.
for the opposite, yeah.
And you may not agree with these things that he did, but I'm a Republican, and so I'm voting for Donald Trump regardless. So, yeah.
I totally agree with you because I was going to use the same example. Like, just because you're a Republican, you're not going to look at a a different view because you're a Republican. So you're gonna vote for whoever the Republican is, and that is like devoting yourself to the charismatic authority type thing because you're devoted. You're going off what he says, no matter what he do, no matter the policies or nothing. So I do think that they elect people in office by using charismatic authority.
Okay, so question. What about before the presidential election? Whatever that is, right before, when you have Republicans heading with Republicans and Democrats against Democrats. Like for whoever's gonna lead the party, how do they vote then?
I think people look at who they are, like they like them because they like them, but I also think they look at their policies too. Then I think they look at more both them versus in the actual presidential election. I think they just go for like who they like personally because of whatever reason they like them.
Yeah, but most people that watch like Republican nominees and stuff like that, they're Republicans, so they'll look at their policies. But if you're looking at the Democratic Party and their nominees, if you're a Democrat, you're going to go by the policies then. But in the overall election, usually people are going to vote with what they're affiliated with. So.
I got you.
Is someone watching the time just so we don't go over?
That'd be nice. So we started late.
I just slide over here.
I just, just to make sure that we realize.
We are at
Don't say like 5 minutes.
6 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay. Next question. Can Donald Trump fit into all three types of authority that Weber explained? How so?
You want me to do it? Since I wrote that question, I already had an answer for it, which is why I said I'd go. I think he can fit into all three types because when you look at legal authority, he's the president, so obviously he fits into that one. The other one, which was the traditional, the reason I put traditional is because he's still an authority figure within his companies and CEOs, and you see that he got money from his father. He's giving money to his children, his son's being the CEO of his main companies while he's the president. So traditional in the fact that he has authority like within his companies, and that to me that's probably always going to be a family thing. Like the money came from his daddy, he will give money to his kids, his grandkids are going to have kids, so I think he fits into that way. And charismatic to an extent, because there are people out there that will look up to him and not care what he says or what he does, and they're going to like him regardless. And that's part of the charismatic thing when they talk about like irrational and rational. And they talked about religion and how even though religion can be claimed irrational and people can disprove it, a lot of people will still say, but no, I still believe it. And so like Donald Trump can say something completely off the wall and someone can say, well, how could you agree with that? Like, that's not right. And someone's still going to say, well, I like Donald Trump anyways. Right. So I think he can fit into all three. Just not like being the president, but like each aspect of his life.
I agree with you. When I looked at the question, I thought of it like as impersonal, personal, and I think he can be impersonal but personal also. So I think he could fit into all three, because you can see him like, I think for a safety standpoint, he has to be impersonal with people a lot of times, but then like you see him every once in a while be personal to other people and to children and things like that, and go out of his way to talk and whatever.
I agree. I really do. You hit on all the points.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
You have anything to add?
No, she was right.
Okay. Well, this is not necessarily okay. So, which authority would you describe the candidates running for the 2016 president election? So, with Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and I put Bernie Sanders, and why? With Donald Trump, I would classify him using more of a traditional authority because, like you said, it's more of he has a more, he has more like what is that word called? It's over the H. I can't.
Heritage?
No.
Hierarchy?
Yeah, hierarchy. So like his dad passed it down to him and all that. With Hillary Clinton, I would say she has more of a charismatic authority because people were like devoted, like with the what was it called, the campaigning they would do, Hillary, was it called Hillary Now or something like that? Yeah, there was like protesting and campaigning everywhere you went. So like she was actually reaching out to people and, you know, affected them positively and stuff like that. With Bernie Sanders, I would say he also had charismatic authority because people were really fighting for Bernie even after he wasn't one of the two in the presidential election. Like, but when they were voting, they voted like 20-some% voted for him in the presidential election, even though he wasn't a Republican or the Democrat that mostly would get the votes. They still voted for that for him. So I would say he had more of a charismatic authority too, because it still affected people in a positive way.
I agree with you on Hillary Clinton being the charismatic authority. And then for Donald Trump, I would say rational. Because, I don't know, I feel like he just wants to follow by the books and go by the laws that we've had in the past and things like that. And then Bernie Sanders, I'm really not sure.
Well, they're all, to me, legal authority because they were all running for a presidential election, and legal authority is what we have as a democracy is presidential elections and stuff. So it's the position, not the candidate. So they're all legal authority. Now, to me, I think Bernie Sanders was the most charismatic because I heard people that were Republican and people that were Democrat say, I'll vote for Bernie Sanders if he's the elect. I heard people say, if it's Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, I'm going to vote for Bernie. If it's Hillary and Bernie, I'm going to vote for Bernie. And then they didn't know who to vote for when Bernie wasn't there
Right.
because they didn't like either candidate. So I think they are all, to me, legal authority, but some of them showed more charismatic attributes than other ones.
I agree with that completely. They have to be legal. I feel like they have to be charismatic as well, and Bernie was definitely the most charismatic. I think he had more followers than both Hillary and Donald, which is surprising that he didn't make it there, but he didn't. I would agree that Donald Trump is traditional as well. They were all legal, but I definitely think Bernie was the most charismatic, but they were all pretty charismatic.
Okay. Which authority is best fit to lead the United States? Or should it be an all combined, or should it be a combination of all three?
It's got to be legal because it couldn't be charismatic because we couldn't run a country on people following somebody no matter what it is they do, because then they could do anything they wanted and people would still disagree, but they'd have such a strong following that nothing would ever get done about it. And if it's charismatic, they also talk about how it doesn't change. So now we're in a system where every 8 years you have to have somebody else. So charismatic, if you have somebody that was insane, he could stay. Or traditional, it's passed down throughout the family and you can't really break that. So yeah, to me it's if we lived anywhere else that wasn't legal. But you look at England and they have for traditional and they're fine.
Yeah, it's
So-
lovely.
We'd have to pick a family. I don't know what family we'd pick.
Oh, yeah.
So I say legal authority is the way to go for the United States.
I agree. Legal authority would be the only way to have it, to be successful.
I agree.
Yeah. Legal authority, I think, would work. We could try traditional, but I think after a while somebody would honestly try to assassinate the president. They would get tired of the same family.
But you wonder how England made it all these years. I mean, they've always been a traditional, but they've had a family picked out for years. I mean, who would we? The problem would be picking one because we'd have to pick a family, and nobody in the United
That would
States would
not-
agree on
Yeah.
a family. So it wouldn't work to me. At least not
Because they
where
had
we're at.
theirs back when everybody pretty much
Yeah.
stood on the
They've been
same
there
grounds,
forever,
where
so.
no, like here, it's not really like that at all.
Right.
Do you feel President Trump has characteristics of all three authorities? What and why?
That's kind of like the other question.
Yeah, that is kind of like we already talked about that, right?
Yeah, technically.
How is this presidential election different from the last?
Well,
No one liked either candidate, really. I would say that would be a big thing, Because in the election before, they pretty much had people that they knew they would vote for. And then in this election, you had a bunch of people who were like, I'm not voting at all because I don't like either one. And some people felt that neither candidate would be good for the country at all.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the first time we've really seen that too. Because even with like Obama and Mitt Romney back in, 2012? Yeah. Republicans liked Mitt Romney and Democrats liked Obama. And even some Republicans really liked Obama. So now there were Republicans that absolutely hated Trump and there were Democrats that hated Hillary. So
Right.
it's a lot different because the candidates we had were just different from before, and it was the first time in 8 years we had to pick somebody different, and there's always that comfort feeling of when the same president you've had runs again, you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to vote for him. And we didn't have that again. There was a lot of young people like us who couldn't vote in the last one. Maybe you could. How old are you now?
23. I voted.
You voted for Obama?
No.
I was
Gosh.
7.
Same 6.
You were-
Oh, I feel old.
You were
Yeah.
2 years too young.
Yeah, I was in the 11th grade.
Yeah, me too.
I voted.
You did?
Yeah. I voted in the last 2 elections, yeah.
Okay, well, some of us couldn't vote in the last election. And a lot of other young people couldn't vote. And even people who were 18 that could vote didn't vote. So I just think the rise of all these young people, they're all gung-ho for politics and they still don't vote. So that's another problem.
Right.
We've said that our generation, from like 18 to 25, seem to be the most political, but yet we don't vote. So we're hypocritical. You know, it's whatever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dang,
Why?
because I'm so young. I didn't think about how old y'all were.
I had the point, but you lost it when you went off on the age thing, so.
Did I have that question? Yeah. Okay. Based on the two political parties, Republican and Democrats, which authority or authorities would fit into these categories and why? Have we already answered it? Or no?
No.
Okay. That's hard.
I think they're both legal authority.
Yeah, they're both legal.
But I also think both of them can
Mhm.
go towards charismatic things when they choose to vote and stuff like that.
I think
And
they're
I
both-
think it's
yeah.
traditional too, because I think a lot of stuff they base on past and traditions and
Yeah.
stuff. Both of them have different reasons they base their beliefs on, so I
Right.
think it could be all three, but mostly legal.
And both, I think they could be traditional also, is because like if you're a Democrat, you're most likely a Democrat because your mom or dad was a
Yeah.
Democrat, and they are Democrat because their past grandparents was Democrat. So it's traditional, like it get passed down like that, and Republican also. So it lasts in the family. Some people don't even know why they're Democrat. So, and plus they're both legal, but yeah, and they're charismatic also because they reach out to people and, people actually like have hard down beliefs on why they're a Democrat or a Republican.
Mhm.
So I think they could be all three.
I agree. They're all three. I think you have to have believers to get into office, one. And then they both have to be legal. With the tradition, I think they're both extremely traditional. One stays liberal, the other stays conservative for the most part. Like they both try to stay separate. They agree on certain things, but they stay the way they are for a reason. They're very traditional.
Y'all got it?
Does the authority type best? Okay, you mean which? I think you mean which.
Yeah.
Which authority type best fit for the president?
Okay, guess the next question.
I get this.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
which
guys.
one? What would you try?
type best fit president change with time?
This all came from my phone, so.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
We can have a spell check. How do you feel? Oh, we already asked that. We already asked that too, right?
Technically.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good question. I know my answer.
Did we the people change our view of the legal authority during this election? If so, why is this acceptable?
Did yes.
Thank you.
Did we, the people, change our view of the legal authority during this election? If so, why? I think in some ways, yes.
I think we did change our view. Well,
Because
oh no, I don't know.
did we, the people,
Authority.
change our view of legal authority?
Do you want me to tell you what I thought whenever you
Yeah.
discussed it?
Yeah.
Wait.
Because you're
Let
going to
me
hear
go. I'm gonna say yes and slightly, only because Donald Trump won and he's not a politic. Like I don't think he knew as much legal things as Hillary necessarily. But other than that, no, I don't think so. It's just when it came to knowledge, I don't think he knew like all the legal terms or what most politicians know when they actually run for president.
I said I think it does because when we were talking about it in class, and I mentioned it before, they talk about how you have respect for the position, not the person. And I think even after this race, they didn't have respect for the position anymore because there were so many people that went out and said, you know, not my president. There were shirts that said, not my president. There were more. So if you look at it as a legal authority, as a respect for the position, we not only lost the respect for the person itself, but the respect for the position because they dislike the person so much. And as far as him not being more political than Hillary, a lot of people, I've heard people say that, you know, we needed somebody who wasn't as political because I think people that are political are corrupt.
Right.
And the one person I think of is Ronald Reagan, and he was a movie star and he became the president. Maybe not movie, but he was like an actor. And he became the president. So it has happened before, it just hasn't happened as much. And some people will say that's ridiculous, like you should have a politician, because you need to have some knowledge.
Right.
But then you have the like, complete other side that says, we need somebody completely different. And I'm more like, you need to know something. But if you've been in the legal system for 20 years and it's still crappy, then we need somebody different.
And you have to remember they also have like the vice president who's very political,
Right.
and then all the people under him. Because I mean, he can't just come out and be like, "I'm doing this." Like
It's
he has to
Congress.
go through
Oh yeah.
people. So,
But,
and,
yeah.
But I feel like. Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
I feel like some people lost respect for the position when Barack Obama was first elected. There was like huge riots and everything, and then once he got in there, they gave him a chance, and then people started believing. So the same thing may happen with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was publicized as much for whatever reason. I think it did happen because you can go and look up the riots that happened when Obama got elected and then when Donald Trump got elected. But for whatever reason, like it happened with Obama, and we talked about it for a while. And then, you know, months went by and it kind of went down. And now in November, it'll have been a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or January.
No,
Yeah.
January.
Well, he got,
He
yeah.
got elected,
But it's still being, it's just like, it's not going to stop. I think everybody's going to always not have that respect towards, but that's even if you don't agree with it.
But I
So-
think that Hillary and Trump also, in a way, like threw the respect out the window. Because like when they were running for office, they were both extremely disrespectful to each other,
Yeah.
both constantly bashing. And I think that's like a problem in the presidential elections. Like this should be about politics, not like,
Right.
oh, you're stupid and this or that. Like it should be about what you're gonna do to help the country
Exactly.
instead of bashing each other. And I think they lost respect for the position in that way. And
they
therefore
did
we
to
lost. And
themselves.
so by
Right.
watching them, we're gonna lose respect for that stuff. And so if they don't respect it, why should we? You know.
But at the end of the day, we're still expected to respect it, even though they themselves technically don't have to respect their position that they uphold. There should be some standards, like you shouldn't say these certain things or do these certain things. If
Which authority do you find best for president? Do you feel they should be more personal, impersonal, loyal, superior, or devoted, you mean? Or should they have a quality from all three?
I think legal authority is best for the president. Because it doesn't give them too much power. But people still technically may want them in office versus not wanting them in office.
Right.
And then I feel they should be both personal and impersonal. Just for different reasons. Safety reasons and then personal because that's how they're going to get people to like them.
Right. Should they have qualities from all three?
I don't think traditional has anything to do with the president, so I don't think they need anything from that. I mean, they need to be somewhat charismatic, but even if they're not charismatic, if you follow a Republican or if you follow a Democrat, you're probably going to vote for that person. And where charismatic comes in is like when you have somebody like Obama, and so many states that are usually Republican voted for Obama and turned blue just because they liked him. So I'm so confused on what the question is. Oh yeah, they need to be. I think they need to be personable, because if they're not, then people aren't going to gravitate towards you. But when you're actually in office, depending on who you're around, you have to be impersonal too, because like she said, you can't give out certain secrets or safety issues or like certain plans they have with the military. Like that's not stuff that everybody needs to know. But that shouldn't change how he treats whoever the president is, just normal people that he meets, or how he addresses somebody. You have to be impersonable, because you don't want to say something and just don't say it at all and change the topic. So.
Right. I agree.
I agree. But also a question, so like for traditional, like the president, you said the president shouldn't be traditional. So what if that president has learned something from like another president? Does that signal a traditional type authority, because he did get a quality from that last president?
I don't think so. Because,
Or would that
I mean, no
just
matter what, you're going to learn things from different
Yeah.
people. But it's not necessarily like the whole families.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, with
So
tradition.
you could say like all the Bushes being in office like this,
Yeah.
that could be like.
Is that traditional?
I mean,
No, because they had
it's
to work
not.
for
They had to
it.
work for it. And they had to be voted in. So it wasn't
Right.
like they earned it, or not earned it. It wasn't like they just got it. So they had to earn that.
And the traditional is kind of like a monarchy. Like, I say this, you're gonna do it. It's no disagreeing. Whatever I say goes, and that's just it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in a traditional, it's really hard to get things changed once they're set in their ways. And in the United States, we may feel like things aren't changed when they're supposed to be, but so many things have changed in the past 20 years. And even though like one president might have learned something from another one, we're not stuck in these rules that are very hard to come out of. Now, there are certain things that people cause an uproar when they're disturbed, but they're still getting changed. So it's a lot harder to change things in a traditional setting to me than it is in a legal authority.
Do different age groups vote for a certain type of authority? For instance, senior citizens vote for traditional, or younger people vote for charismatic.
The camera didn't get it, but did it? Right.
Oh yeah, then.
We're already 4 minutes and 15 seconds in, so we'd be at 28 minutes.
Okay. So we stop here after this one?
Okay. You want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, you can.
The different age groups vote for a certain type of authority. For example, senior citizens voting for traditional authority and younger people voting for a more charismatic authority.
Yes, I think that the younger generation votes for more charismatic authority because they aren't really educated on the policies necessarily. They just hear what they're saying, they think it sounds good, so they just go ahead and follow it. And then if somebody's friend is following it, well, my friend is following them, so I might as well too. Nobody's really thinking for themselves. I think with the older generation, if it makes sense to them, I think they'll go with it. I don't think older people really like change too much though, so I think they're gonna look for a president who resembles the one that was previously in office, or the one they tried voting for.
I agree.
I agree that younger generations do more charismatic authority, because they tend to praise the famous people, and like if famous people go, well, I like Hillary Clinton, then they're just gonna vote for Hillary Clinton because their favorite person votes for Hillary Clinton. And then, but I also think, like you said, education has a lot to do with it. People aren't educated on it, So the more education they have, I think depends on how they will vote.
Right, and I think like the middle-aged people also they go for more of a legal type authority because they know they probably done voted in many elections.
Right.
And they already saw the like change different presidents tried to make, so they already know how the system works. So I think like middle-aged people would go for more of a legal type of authority and stuff like that.
I don't think it has as much to do with age groups as it does to do with their location. Like I was thinking before, in the South you're going to find more Republicans. You know, California, it's a liberal state, or a Democratic state, it's always going to be that. Texas is usually always going to be Republican. So if you're young but you grew up in a strict Republican household, majority of the time you're going to be Republican. So that's uneducated too, in my opinion, because I know mom knows best, but just because your family tells you all these things and you're going to blindly follow them no matter what and not look outside of that, you're not educating yourself on something you may not know. And if they know things that you don't know, but they don't want you to maybe be a Democrat, then they're going to leave certain things out. There's going to be things that aren't going to be told. And I think that's a lot to do with location and age to an extent, because sometimes when you're younger, you're afraid to go away from what your parents believe.
Right. But when you're older, do you think you would be afraid to break away from what you've been voting for your whole life?
Yeah, because I think once you get set in your ways, it's really hard to, like you said, change is scary.
Right.
That's with anything.
I think the thing with the older people is, I think they've seen things that we are trying now or going to try, and they've seen it fail, so they know it's not going to work. And I think that's one reason why they get stuck in their ways, is because they know certain things are not going to work.
Right.
Yeah. And I think older people are stuck in traditional beliefs, not exactly like the traditional authority, but just what they've believed this whole time. So even though times might be changing, they're still going to think, but this is right, this is wrong, so I'm going to vote this way, and they're not going to see it any other way.
Right.
But it's really hard to believe something your whole life and then realize that you may not be right about it, or there may be other options that could work better. So nobody likes thinking they're wrong.
Right.
So,
That's it.
That's it.
Right.